Jack Ebling here with Lindsay Huddleston. We are at the Duffy Doherty football building after Michigan State's Tuesday practice and a Mark D'Antonio press conference.
Yes.
About 22 minutes this morning. Getting ready for the biggest game of the season. A lot of people would think that that might be somewhere else on the schedule, but this is the Big Ten opener. This is a team that's beat them 3 straight times. If they lose back-to-back games, Lindsay, after the way the Arizona State game ended, it'd be tough to pick up the pieces. They win this one, 1-0 in the Big Ten, they're off and running.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, I talk to the players, and the consistent question I ask is, what is it like going on the road? Is there a different mentality? And one thing I thought was interesting was them talking about the fans, and that plays such a different role into it. So not only do you have that challenge on from losing that big game, you're going up against a team you haven't beat before, and you're on the road in a hostile environment.
I don't know how hostile it will be because, as you will see Saturday, the crowd will be about 50-50. There will be a ton of Spartans there.
Sure.
Northwestern does not draw well.
Sure.
It's a small stadium anyway. It's less than 50,000. And a very small student body. They say it's Chicago's team. It's really not. That's the way it's billed at Northwestern. But Michigan State will have a lot of chances to win, and I think a lot of teams love to play at Northwestern. Probably their favorite Big Ten road venue.
Sure.
And probably the least intimidating of all 14.
Yeah, but when you're 0-3, when you look at this team, and
they've lost twice at home, Michigan State has.
Right, and you look at that, and then you go in there. I mean, you can't help but wonder what these guys are thinking about playing, and then there's added pressure. They don't have the relief of beating Arizona State, rolling into this undefeated. You know, what could they be thinking? I don't know.
You have to go back to the early 1900s. The last time Michigan State had lost 3 in a row to Northwestern until last year.
Right.
And the Spartans have never dropped 4 in a row to the Wildcats. So that is a chance. But, you know, everybody looks at Michigan State and the other programs, fans at the Spartans say, hey, you know, should be able to beat this team. Other teams say, well, we can beat Michigan State.
Right. I know. It's like blood in the water. You think Coach D'Antonio is saying we've never lost 4 in a row to Northwestern? That could be part of his pregame speech?
I think there are other things. You don't have to go back in history that far. I don't know what kind of a motivator that is. There should be enough other things on the line for this team to get the stench of last week off of them.
Yeah.
And I think to start the season, as he said at his press conference today, a win over Northwestern means a lot more than a win over Arizona State.
Do you believe that to be true?
I do, absolutely. It's a conference game for one thing.
Right.
The dumbest statement that any coach ever makes is a one on the wall right over there.
They all count one.
They do not all count one. A win over Northwestern means 10 times as much as a win over Western Michigan, and a win over Michigan means 10 times as much as a win over Northwestern.
True.
So they are not all equal. You can't say a non-conference game and a bowl game count the same.
Right.
This is a big game for this team, for the psyche, for the confidence, for the fan base, which is just about on the verge, in a lot of cases, of jumping off the ship.
Yeah. Do you think the Pac-12 coming out and saying that the refs blew the call adds any type of comfort to the outcome?
None. I was wondering if it might even hurt more to know that. But they say, no, that's over. Everything is over. I know from a psychological point, you know how hard that is.
Sure.
You can say it, but are there still some things that are lingering? If this were not the start of the Big Ten season, I would say it could really bother Michigan State more. But that was phase 2 of the season. There was the preseason, then there was a non-conference season. This is where it really counts.
This is
they
where
start
it counts.
now. They got 9 chances to get to Indianapolis, and they probably have to win 8 of the 9. A lot of people will look at that and say, well, they're not going to win 6 of the 9.
No room for error.
No room for error. Very, very little. And they've got those back-to-back games coming up the start of October in Columbus, in Madison, back-to-back Saturdays. Can't afford to lose this.
No, you can't. I want to go back to something you said, referencing the fan base, saying that we're running the risk of fan base jumping ship. I mean, you know, what is that to be said about, you know, fans here at Michigan State? Is that a fickle fan base?
I think all fans are fickle. And I think that the fans here, in many cases, rightly feel that they want to change. they don't see the change. They see more of the same. And certainly on the scoreboard, it looks like that with another 7 up there last week.
And they struggled to get to 7 too.
Yeah, but they gained a lot of yards. You know, and you could say, well, what do yards mean? What are stats? Stats are for losers, all those kinds of things. But I see a very different Michigan State offense than the one a year ago that couldn't go from you to the door.
Yeah, the door's pretty close too.
Yeah. But I also noticed that this week on the 2 deep, we have 4 freshmen on the offensive line listed among the top 10 players. Last week, none. So you're going to get Devontae Dobbs and Nick Samak and Joseph Isaiah and J.D. Duplain. Those guys are all in the picture. And I would be surprised if 2 or 3 of them did not play at some point, because they're going to be shuffling guys in and out. And I would think that those guys are, a couple of them at least, are going to get a chance to get in their first game.
You think we're going to see a Connor Haywood sighting?
You know, there might be a situation, but I don't think it's going to be 4th and 1.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be that. There may be a 3rd down situation where they can throw the ball to him. He has very good hands. There may be something else where they can utilize his talents, but that didn't seem to work again. And fans are really at wit's end with the whole Connor Hayward experiment. A lot of them are thinking that, you know, when is he done?
It's tough. You know, I happened to see him. He wasn't part of the media scrum, but gave him a fist bump and said, hey, man, keep your nose up like your nose bleed, because you heard Coach talk about him a few weeks ago, being able to encourage him, and you only can hope that with the game that they lost, that they don't lose players. And then when you lose players, you start to lose the locker room, and it just starts to turn into a downward spiral. And I hope that one player is not the catalyst for something like that.
Yeah, and you can't play everybody. But players here, they may say, oh, I don't pay attention to that, but they hear things.
Sure.
And they read things.
Sure.
And with social media, so someone says, did you hear what that guy said about you? Did you hear what that writer from that paper said about you?
Oh, yeah.
And he actually let it be known that he was not happy with something that had been written about him or said about him. So obviously it's gotten to him, and the question now is whether there's a chance for him to redeem himself in the eyes of the fans, eyes of the coaches, and maybe himself.
Right. Jack, you have a great history of seeing these ups and downs, and this is not referring to your age. This is just your great sports wisdom, right? Where are we at right now? Is the ship already sailed? Is there a great opportunity to correct course?
This is the start of another chapter. This is the start of the heart of the book, okay? This isn't the introduction or the preface. This game is the first in the Big Ten. To get where they want to go, to Indianapolis, they have to play well in the 9 games.
Right.
And in fact, I'll say this, nobody ever wants to lose a game.
No.
But if you said Michigan State was going to lose one game, which one would you like it to be? They would have picked Arizona State.
You think?
Now, yes. Now, the fact that the D'Antonio deal and all that with 110 wins complicated it a little bit, but you would never want to lose a conference game.
Never want to lose a conference.
So, and you don't want to lose to Western Michigan. You know what that's like. So the question is, would you rather lose the opener to Tulsa, or would you rather lose to an Arizona State team from a Power 5 conference that hasn't given up more than 7 points in any of the 3 games? Arizona State's given up 7, 7, and 7. That's not an excuse. That doesn't mean that Michigan State can take any solace in that, but it does mean if they can come out with a win on the road here and be 1-0, 3-1 as they get ready for a homecoming visit from Indiana, they're still alive.
What's going to get more press within winning the 110th game for Coach D, or being able to have a Big Ten win on the road?
The 110 wins, that's just cake. Okay, that doesn't really mean anything. It does to some of the former players who are a part of that. But these guys out here, they want to win a championship. And what happened in 2004 doesn't have anything to do with that. What happens is this game, next week, and then they get ready for those back-to-back road games and run that gauntlet of Ohio State and Wisconsin. That's what's really going to determine whether this is a successful season.
That's going to make it happen. Press Pass will be coming up. What are you thinking about in the next few days?
Well, we're going to have a lot to talk about because you and I are on our way to Evanston.
Yeah, Evanston. Look out. We're on our way.
Look forward to that.
This will be nice.
Jack Ebling here with Lindsay Huddleston, and we will talk to you again after the game in Evanston.